Welcome small group but big hearts to this United Nations annual gathering to promote international peace and compassion. We join with like-minded people all over the world in the special United Nations Day of Peace to build peace in this whatever way is workable in a world that's too overcome with war and violence. We work for understanding and compassion for those who suffer. We work locally and internationally to bring peace and reconciliation to the world. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Senator Doug Roach, who has been on the front lines of peacemaking for longer than I can remember. Welcome. Welcome to all of you. Boris, I see you're here. Renee, and so many friends of peace. My name is Reverend Audrey Brooks. I'm a retired Unitarian chaplain from the University of Alberta and a board member of the Edmonton Interfaith Center, sponsors of this event for many, many years. Let me see, where am I? I was going to say that many, many years ago, more than 30, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Declaration of the Rights of All People to Peace, reaffirming that the desire for peace is universal among all people. Every human being has the right to live in a world of peace, free from the violence of war that is happening in too many places all over the world today. Millions of people living in fear, refugees drowning on the beaches, and being refused entry into countries that could offer compassion and peace. Uncertainty of tomorrow, only because the violence of war and its manifestations, but also because of the crisis in climate, devastation of survival, and that of our planet. And this demands that we as citizens rise up, and like other people, namely, I still have to say and honor Greta Thunberg, because she's still out there after all these years and getting threatened with arrest and all of these things in order to bring the message that things have to change on the earth, and that it's the youth that she is looking to gather together and stand up to corporations and politicians and anyone else that would destroy peace and livelihood, and all through greed, politics, and the desire to own and to take over countries, lives, and ways of being in the world. First, we are going to have words about Treaty 6 by our board member, Guy Blood, and a prayer. And then if there are any grannies willing and able, we're going to sing Spirit of the Wind after that. Okay.
Yeah, I've got just a couple things to say, and one of them is just a reminder that we are indeed on Treaty 6 land. Treaty 6 was a contract between the Indigenous chiefs of this area and part of Saskatchewan with the Governor General of the Dominion of Canada in the late 1800s. And that agreement was put in place because the Indigenous people saw settlers coming in and settling on the land, and the buffalo had all been killed, so their source of food was drying up, and the settlers brought in disease. So the Indigenous people were suffering from starvation and from disease and just being in bad shape, and so they requested some consideration from the Dominion of Canada, and that resulted in Treaty 6, which ceded all the land in this area to the settlers, to the Dominion of Canada, and in exchange for some small parcels of land, along with some some food and some medicine and education and exclusive right to that particular part of land. So that's what Treaty 6 was all about, and we are the beneficiaries of that treaty. I'd like to now say a prayer for peace, and I'll explain it a little bit afterwards. O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily thou art their helper and their Lord. And I want to explain a little bit about that great purpose. The great purpose that's referred to there is the establishment of peace in the world. And in the mid-1800s, Baha'u'llah did in fact tell us that peace would be established in the world, and it would take the form of two processes, two events. The first one would be of the lesser peace, in which heads of government, states, kings, presidents, prime ministers would agree that war was no longer a very good way of settling disputes. And so when that happens, we will know that's the lesser peace. And the most great peace was when people of all different backgrounds, religious backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, racial backgrounds, established a sense of unity amongst themselves with respect and harmony and inclusion of each other. And that we can hope for. And we, at the Edmonton Interfaith Center, I think, are a model of that very thing. We are living in harmony. We have different faith people coming together. We have different cultures and skin colors and all kinds of different people coming together and working together in harmony with inclusion and a welcome message for all. So I take great hope that we are an example of that most great peace.
Thank you, coming up here to sing this song, Spirit of the Wind. I want you to please notice that we have a nice breeze here today, and we're sitting on a park, a designated park that was once the land of our First Nations people. So this is an honor song in honor of the First People. So we're going to be singing Spirit of the Wind, breathe in me. Spirit of the sun, rekindle my flame. Spirit of the rain, fill our dry and deep recesses. Spirit of the land, raise us again. Got it? 1, 2, 3. Spirit of the wind, breathe in me. Spirit of the sun, rekindle my flame. Spirit of the rain, fill my dry and deep recesses. Spirit of the land, raise me again. Now how about joining us? Spirit of the wind, breathe in me. Spirit of the sun, rekindle my flame. Spirit of the rain, fill my dry and deep recesses. Spirit of the land, raise me again. Thank you, Grannies. And Grannies will be joining us at the end. We'll be singing Circle Round for Freedom, and we will do a circle and sing The Strangest Dream as our closing today. Thank you, ladies. Now we have greetings from Gail Allen, the president of the Edmonton Interfaith Center, who has returned to us and who is an original member of the Edmonton Interfaith Center. Can you see?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm very happy to greet you today on behalf of the Edmonton Interfaith Center for Education and Action. This commemoration of the UN Day of Peace, as as Audrey mentioned, has been an important moment in the Center's programming for many years. With members from many faith communities and traditions, the Edmonton Interfaith Center works to create a more harmonious and respectful community in Edmonton. Our programs include multi-faith prayer services, education programs that develop appreciation and respect for the rich diversity of faith traditions in Edmonton, and opportunities to engage in dialogue and action around issues facing our society. We also share resources such as the multi-faith calendars, which are available here today. This year's UN International Day of Peace focuses on actions for peace and how the Sustainable Development Goals are essential to preventing conflict and maintaining peace. In his message for this day, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres reminds us that, and I quote, "Peace is the result of action. Action to accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals and ensure that no one is left behind. Action to end the war on our planet and its natural gifts. Action to uphold and protect the human rights and dignity of every person. And action for those millions of people living through the horrors of war." He concludes, "Peace is not only a noble vision for humanity, peace is a call to action." End quote. Our presence today represents an affirmation of that call to action. We acknowledge the visions of peace, justice, and the flourishing of all creation that are woven through all of our faith traditions. And in gathering here, we witness to the many ways that our faith communities and our wider community can work together to bring life to those visions in our time and place. The Edmonton Interfaith Center is committed to joining with partners in this community and beyond in actions that build peace grounded in justice and compassion. May our efforts to build deep understanding across lines of difference empower each of us and all of us together in a movement for peace that is rooted in attention to human dignity, justice, and care for creation in all our relationships, with all our relations, throughout our communities, local and global.
Thank you so much, Gail, for your words. We have a song from the beautiful ladies who are present today. Netta Follett, our Executive Director of the Edmonton Interfaith Center, and Karen Gall, and Paula Kerman. Where is everybody? Can you come forward? And I'll ask one of you to give an overview of the reasons for the song.
Thank you. This is a song that we sing weekly, usually on Shabbat. I didn't put Karen's name on the program. I wasn't sure she could come. This is unrehearsed, which you will very soon notice. And the word Israel does not refer to the country, it refers to people. Thank you. So, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, say shalom b'broma, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oh, say shalom b'broma, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
That's the new Jewish choir. It is my honor to introduce our keynote Executive Director of the John Humphreys Society for Peace and Education, and to tell us about the 75th anniversary of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. And I can't tell you how many hats this woman wears, so I won't tell you. But maybe you can give us a little overview of some of the things the John Humphreys Center for Peace does and encourage people to join us.
Yes, and the journey ahead.
Thank you. I was feeling all funny and I knew that the paper would work here today. I see people, I was at the Migrante rally this weekend for Status for All, seeing Paula there, and everybody uses their phones for their speaking notes, and I just don't think I can do that with my eyes, so I was really appreciating all the paper today. Anyway, random, I know. So welcome everyone. Good afternoon, and thanks for being here to commemorate this important day, the International Day for Peace. And I just want to firstly express gratitude, so much gratitude for those of you that continue every day to put the call for peace on the table and to remind us to continue to be vigilant in our efforts, particularly to continue to bring us together in solidarity to find our pathways forward. In these times, it's critical to have these spaces together to build our bonds for what seems insurmountable sometimes, for it is trusting and working together that we can create stronger ripples for change. It is in this moment today that we can stand back and reflect on the many challenges we are facing in this world, yet also stand here with each other and see each other in the work. I'm honored to know many of you, and in our own ways, cross our paths to strengthen those waves and connect our work. When I think of the world and the challenges we face, I think of the manifestations of colonization across the world, but particularly here at home. The blindness to how the genocidal policies that accompanied the settlement of Canada continue to be so deeply embedded in our social fabric and alive on our streets. It brings to mind in 1883 in the House of Commons when Sir John A. Macdonald stated that Indian children should be withdrawn as much as possible from parental influences. While we're just starting to understand the history of residential schools in Canada, we have a long journey of reckoning. From the 60s scoop into the child welfare system and state guardianship today, this history has manifested itself in many ways, in addiction and overdoses, suicide, poverty, displacement that is so alive. Peace is right here, that finding of peace is right here on our doorsteps. And when we look globally, again, reckonings are afoot. From new emerging economies such as cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence, where things are moving so fast and where international cooperation is totally lacking. We know if these are built on capitalist foundations, these systems can and will be incredibly damaging and exploitative. And we see the tensions across the world, as I mentioned, even here on our doorsteps. We see the real-time impacts of changing climate as we open our doors for evacuees, really refugees, who are displaced from their homes. While they're out of our sight when they return home and the media attention is gone, it takes communities years, if not a generation or generations, to recover. We see the impacts of governments who are removed from the interests of the people. The mass failure in public infrastructure witnessed in Libya last week is only but one example. May we all hold our hearts to the people of Libya as they navigate this massive tragedy and the trauma it's going to carry. And all these insecurities, tensions, and struggles are real, and those that do not have access to resources, who live in poverty, will be the most vulnerable and impacted. And when we reflect on those intersections, those that are Indigenous, living with disability, people of color, or queer, will have a higher likelihood of feeling that impact. So I come to you today on behalf of the John Humphreys Center for Peace and Human Rights, which is a charitable organization coming from the legacy of John Peters Humphrey, the principal drafter of the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In his legacy, along with Gerald L. Gall, Order of Canada, former professor of law at the University of Alberta, thank you, Karen, for the song, JHC really exists to make human rights a part of our realities in our community. And I'd like to also ask for all your prayers right now as one of our second founders, Jack O'Neill, is in Newville in his final days, and to please send your prayers and love. We work to take these universal, interconnected, and interdependent principles which have been enshrined in the International Bill of Rights in 1966 and work to advance dignity, freedom, justice, and security through collaborative relationships and transformative education on peace and human rights. Now, 2023 is a big year. It marks the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And while we gather here today, I want to encourage us to remember that through the realization of human rights, we can build toward peace. Peace cannot exist without a commitment to human rights. And thus, we at JHC, along with partners from across this city and country, are working together to plan space to strengthen our collective connection and capacity. There is so much beauty that emerges when people come together and build relationships for change. We need those spaces to build those relationships for change. Many of you I only see on days like today, but we need those spaces to know each other and strengthen together. And we need this in Canada. We need this across generations, across backgrounds, experiences, and ability. So from December 1st to 10th this year, we'll be marking the 75th with a global convention to bring us together to unpack the issues, to talk strategies and action, and to build momentum for change, to build a culture of peace. And I invite you all to join us. We're still accepting submissions for the program until October 15th, and registration just opened last week. Please take one of the small handbills that my beautiful president, Megan Lukasiewicz, is going to bring around. We have these little handbills, and do check it out and find out more. This event will be held primarily online, so we can be accessible across the country and into remote areas, but we will feature special in-person events here in Edmonton, including a reception with Chief Justice Richard Wagner, being planned by Canadians for a Civil Society on December 9th, the annual Genocide Memorial planned by Reverend Audrey Brooks on December 8th, and a full day on anti-racism hosted by the Shiloh Centre for Multicultural Roots on December 2nd. Just a few of the other things that will be happening. We will have sessions for teachers to join in with their classrooms or to do their own professional development towards inclusion and human rights education throughout the convention. The Ignite Change Convention will be a time of connection, strengthening, and growth in a movement of peace and human rights. Please consider being a part, and let's be part of a tidal wave of solidarity and strength as we move into 2024. Things are tough, and we have to reckon with that, but we also have to build our connection, solidarity, and trust with each other in that journey. So thank you all, much appreciated. Happy International Peace.
Thank you, Renee. She should have wings and fly, but, you know, not yet. And now somebody, I think that many of us known since she was practically a teenager, is Paula Kerman, has developed into a musician and a songwriter and a media, maven for the concept of peace and inclusivity across all lines of community. And so I invite, I would say, my darling Paula, to sing and play for us.
Thank you, everybody. I think I was a little older than a teenager when I got started in this movement, but it's been so worth it. And of the wonderful people who are here today just proves that more and more. The song I'm going to do today is one that I often do at this event and ones like it. It's from Argentina, and I do an English translation of it. It's a prayer, not in any specific religion, but asking God that we should not be indifferent to suffering, to injustice, and to war. And I'm sure many of you know it, and feel free to sing along. Doesn't find me empty and without having given my everything. I only ask of God that I won't be indifferent to injustice, that they do not slap my other cheek after a claw has scratched my whole body. I only ask of God that I won't be indifferent to the wars. War is a great monster that treads hard on the poor innocence of people. War is a great monster that treads hard on the poor innocence of people. I only ask of God that I won't be indifferent to deception. If a traitor knows something more than the rest of us, then we should not let him be easily forgotten. I only ask of God that I won't be indifferent to the future. Hopeless is the one who must depart to go and live in a different culture. I only ask of God that I won't be indifferent to the wars. War is a great monster that treads hard on the poor innocence of people. Solo le pido a Dios que la guerra no me sea indiferente. Es un monstruo grande y piso fuerte, toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Es un monstruo grande y piso fuerte, toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Thank you very much.
Words to end with. Peace is a loaded word. It means the absence of violence, absence of fruitless wars that destroy lives and land. It means we must work hard for it. As the world goes round and round, we know it's hard to know where to begin and to make peace, but we must work for it. First, we look at our own hearts to see where we have responsibility to make changes in the way we live with other people. Do we understand that we are all equal in humanity? From the homeless person on the street, the addict, the homemaker, the students, all those who are different from us in gender or race or thinking. Building peace is hard work. It needs compassion. We are world citizens. If children in my land are poor or cry, we can understand and help. If a child in another land is in pain or cries, we are there too. We begin with children because they become the adults who make the decisions about peace in the future. We can take responsibility for the refugee camps where children need our help. We can take responsibility for changing the poison that comes from the residential schools or from the fentanyl poisoning of people, so that communities have a future beyond a place where child suicides happen too often and the despair of not seeing anything for their future. How does a child interpret peace? We look at the protests yesterday against the advancing of the rights of people of different genders and different lives, trying to live in what they call a normal place, which is not normal. I'd like to conclude with the prayer for humanity by Unitarian retired minister, Reverend Harry Meserve. He said, this is his prayer for humanity: from arrogance, pompousness, and from thinking ourselves more important than we are, may some saving sensibility liberate us. For allowing ourselves to ridicule the faith of others, may we be forgiven. For making war and calling it peace, special privilege and calling it justice, indifference and calling it tolerance, pollution and calling it progress, may we be forgiven. For telling ourselves and others that evil is inevitable while good is impossible, may we stand corrected. God of our mixed up, tragic, doubting, and insurgent lives, help us to become as good as we have always wanted to be in our hearts. That's Amen from Reverend Harry Meserve. And now I'd like to call the grannies forward, and I'd like to call you forward to form a circle. And I would also, after we're finished, have a group picture of us taken together.
For freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, may the circle hold.
We're going to sing it twice more.
Yes.
I don't want to hear more noise, please. 1, 2, 3.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of